ASDP UFOologist Paul Wellborn from North Yorkshire in the UK, and you're watching the Alien Strand podcast with your amazing host Donald Ledesma.
Everybody, welcome to this episode of Alien Strand Podcast. I'm your host, Donald Ledesma, and welcome to today's show. Man, it's going to be a crazy one today. You know, we're going to be talking about some scary stuff that might be happening here pretty soon with a solar eclipse, and man, it's just gonna be mind blowing. But today we have our guest, Mr. Terry Linch, is gonna join me here shortly. We're gonna talk a little bit about what's this phenomenon that's gonna be happening here on April the 8th pretty soon. So, but if you didn't catch our past podcast, go check it out. Past podcasts, I had one on Children of Aliens. Go check that out. And then I had one with June DeYoung. It's called Near Death Experiences. Those were actually pretty good podcasts, man. Go check those out. Those are on Patreon, or go to YouTube, any of our pages. If you're watching right now on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, all that good stuff that comes along with it. Today is ufology, man. It's about ufology, about us bringing in a lot of information as it comes in. A lot of these podcasts there, the Children of Aliens, I give you a lot of information on it. The near-death experiences, we talked about that, and it just kind of gives you everything that's happening, things that you think about out there, right? So, also, today's podcast, Solar Change, we're going to be talking about that because there are some changes that are going to be coming, and I want to kind of prepare people for what may happen, okay? It's not that it might happen or it's going to happen. It may happen, all right? So, but still, we still got to be prepared, and we still got to talk about it, right? We always have to talk about these these things that are going to happen because it's a big thing. People it's been all over ever since last week or a week and a half about this eclipse that's coming. If you haven't checked out our films, go check it out. Middle part 1, part 2, and part 3 will be coming out here shortly. Go check that out. Of course, the middle 2's on Skylight channel. Go check that out. Skylight 1 on Facebook. I appreciate you guys for watching. Also, ASDP, Alien Strand Disclosure Project. There's no I in team. Come join us, man. We're all work together as one, as a team, and we make things happen in ufology, in the world of ufology, right? So, without further ado, I'm not going to ramble too much because this is not going to be a very long podcast. It's going to be like a short one, but we're going to try to keep it right there where you guys are at. Hey, there's somebody out there saying, hey, 7th is my 57th birthday, so close to the eclipse, gonna be. I wonder who that is. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get Mr. Terry Linch on now.
Hello, everybody from the middle. I'm in Oregon, and welcome to Alien Strand Podcast.
Right on, brother. Right on. And thank you for doing this last minute podcast. I was kind of short on time, but I said, what? I know you're tired, but let's talk about it. I want to talk about a few things about this eclipse that's going to be happening here pretty soon. There's been a lot of stories out there of what's going to happen and what's in store for us when this event occurs, right? So, have you heard any kind of chatter on your end of I know it's not going to be, you're not going to get the totality on that side of the planet of the United States, but have you heard any kind of chatter going on your side of the world there?
Just the normal stuff that when we start having eclipses, there's some people that are worried that this is, the end of the world. Right. And then there are some people that worry that terrorist attacks and things like that will take place.
Right.
So it's those kinds of things. What I like to see or hear more about is that when we have these eclipses, you can see more like UFOs and things like that up in the skyline that aren't usually visible because you have the broad daylight happening. Now all of a sudden you've got this path that's being blocked out by our moon, and between the moon and the sun,
Right.
and the Earth.
Right.
So you have more events of UFO sightings during this time frame.
Exactly. And we're going to talk about that too, here shortly. I have a video here I just want to show real quick. I mean, I know everybody's watched The Simpsons and the predictions of The Simpsons. Now, this guy kind of made his own deal about it, but it's about what's going to happen with this solar eclipse. Now, mind you, the character on here, he's actually talking about the real events that are about to occur here shortly. This isn't something from The Simpsons. He created it, but he kind of makes it into a news, a news story. So let's check this out real quick, so you guys can kind of get the logistics of where we're going with this podcast. Here we go.
This is not another Simpson prediction. This is breaking news. States are taking extreme measures for the solar eclipse on April 8th. This is set to be the last solar eclipse for 2 decades. While solar eclipse events are not rare and happen once a year everywhere throughout the world, it is rare to be able to view them here in the United States. This particular solar eclipse has brought some strange preparations in states set to be able to view the eclipse. Schools are being canceled on April 8th in parts of Texas. National Guards are being deployed. 22 members of the elite chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear units will be housed in Broken Bow, Oklahoma. 110 to 150 additional highway patrol units are being sent to the area, in addition to 150 extra first responders. Residents are being urged to stock up with 2 weeks of food supply, fill tanks of gas, and are being warned that communication facilities could be overloaded, making cell phone calls impossible during this event. While officials are reporting that these are precautionary measures in anticipation of extremely large crowds, many are left speculating if there could be another reason behind these emergency preparations.
Wow. So, I mean, pretty much what he was telling me was kind of get prepared. What's going to happen when this is going to be the path of the totality of the areas that it's going to be coming down, right? Where the sky's going to pretty much black out in these areas. Unfortunately, it's going to still miss me, but it might not look very, dark on my part of the world there down here in South Texas, but it's still crossing over in that general area. Now, what he was saying, Terry, can you kind of relate to what that guy was saying there?
Well, here's the problem. On my end, I was unable to hear the what was going on with the cartoon there.
Oh, okay.
I was catching little tiny pieces of it, and none of it was really coming through very solid for me.
Okay. Yeah.
But I do have an idea, because just in the last few years, we've had total path of totality go right over the top of my head here.
Right.
So, we had people come from all over the U.S. You couldn't get a hotel here. It was almost impossible to go into any of the restaurants and be able to get anything to eat. The whole area was completely packed. And after the eclipse took place, Highway 97 was bumper to bumper from I'm at the end of Deschutes County in LaPine, Oregon.
Right.
But it was bumper to bumper traffic all the way up into Jefferson County, north of us, and up by Madras and all that. And it was just a long line of traffic, and it took about 5 to 6 hours for this traffic to subside.
Well, they're saying that this eclipse that we're having now, this is going to be the last one for a good while.
Is it?
Yeah, it's going to be the last one till 44 that we're going to see now. They were talking about the emergency preparations of what to do. The management agencies were kind of getting involved in all of this, right? Saying that, this is what might happen. It's saying that cell phones service may be affected and several communications, right? Know where the nearest landline is located. If you have a landline, use them, right? Instead of cell phones. It says also use a channel 1 on your walkie-talkie or your CB radios if you still have those, right? So, and that's pretty much what it's telling you, if you have any other ways of communication, use those, or it says monitor AM broadcast frequencies from 1615 kz, for emergency messages, right? So it's always good to be prepared and to have all this stuff. Now, we're not doing this podcast to scare the hell out of you or anything like that. It's just kind of be prepared of what might happen, right?
Right. Now, as far as radios are concerned, everybody here knows that I've got more radios than anybody could ever want for handheld. But it's, I got stuff shooting up on my screen there. Anyway, I'm prepared for stuff like that primarily because I'm a prepper. Right. There's a lot of people that are preppers.
Right.
And I'm always trying to be prepared for whatever the next big thing that's going to happen is. If everybody remembers Y2K,
yep,
there was that. Everybody went out and they bought a year's worth of food. They bought, soap, and they bought generators, and they bought, they went out and they overdid it. And then when COVID hit, good luck going and finding a roll of toilet paper.
Right.
Right. So basically what happens is we end up as a society, we end up doing this hysteria thing. And in some cases it becomes a mass hysteria.
Exactly.
Now I will say again that in the path of total totality, you're gonna have people coming from all over the country, maybe even all over the world, to your location, and they're simply there just to see the event take place.
Right.
If I'd had just a little bit more time to prepare for what we're going to talk about tonight, I have on my literally on the memory card that's loaded into my Nikon P1000, I have video of the last total totality that took place here.
Okay.
And I've got several pictures of it, and you could hear off in the distance there was probably 500-600 people, less than a quarter mile from my house at the rodeo ground, and you could hear them all cheering as it happened. And
right,
everybody had one of these.
Right.
You see what this is? Okay, these are the glasses that you use for seeing. Oop, let me get over here. These are the glasses, the types of glasses that you see and use for observing a lunar eclipse. And they're kind of like welding goggles. That's how dark they are. These aren't 3D glasses. They're not the type of glass you use for watching a movie.
Right.
Don't mistake those two because you'll burn your eyes out.
Yeah.
But these right here, they're just cheap paper glasses with very dark lenses in them, and they sell them from anywhere from 99 cents to I saw them up to $4 around here.
Yeah, they're not that much.
Today you can get them for about a quarter.
Right.
Over on our side of the area because it won't happen here for a long time again.
Right.
And they had a whole abundance of them. I'm sure they're shipping them your guys' direction because they still have them to sell.
Well, let me read a little bit. Let me read a little bit of the preparations here. So on the preparations, I got a list here. It says stock up on essentials, fill up your gas tank, pick up prescriptions if you need them. Right. Schedule your appointments accordingly, before this or after, if it's still safe to do so, and sign up for warrants. This is for Texas, right? So, and then I also read it. I had to put it on here. Local governments, first responders in other states in the path are bracing for the event. Officials in Ohio submit that the Loring counties are asking residents to stay home, and warning that traffic could take a standstill, making it difficult for first responders or emergency management officials, next to our WJ, whatever, that residents should stock up for several days worth of food, fuel, and water, as the influx of visitors could also affect the grocery stores, gas stations, cell phone services, yada yada yada. Right. So pretty much.
Now that's all good advice right there. I was just telling you,
exactly.
This area was inundated with people, and those were all things that took place, actual things that happened. It is a good idea to go by that list right there. That was a good list.
Yeah, it was. It was. I'm going to show this other video real quick. This is going to be on this subject. So, kind of guys, check this out. And this is kind of going to give you some information on the possibilities of what may occur during this event. Now, all these that we're telling you here today are just precautionary measures, all right? So don't get scared by them, just precautionary measures. You should always do this anyway. Like always keep an extra water in the house or extra canned foods or in the cupboard. It's something to make a fire with just in case you don't have no electricity. Things for your, barbecue pit or whatever, charcoal. Always keep that. And toilet paper. Not so much of it, but not too much of it, right?
Yeah,
so,
you don't have to fill up a whole room full of it.
Exactly. So let's go ahead and show this video real quick, and then so that way you know where we're at. Here we go.
Why has Homeland Security been preparing to hijack this biblical event?
The sheriff called me yesterday, and after he got done telling me everything inside this meeting that was happening, I pretty much was nerve-rattled after what I heard. Who is this meeting with? It's with Homeland Security.
People want to do us harm. Use an event like this where a lot of people are gathered to do some type of terror event.
The director of the Lake County Emergency Management Agency told me they've been preparing for the solar eclipse now for about 2 years.
They've been preparing for this for 2 years. Imagine that, for 2 years. He said, during the solar eclipse, while people are all out there looking, they're planning, the intel that they've got is a possible biological attack on people while the solar eclipse is freaking happening.
Like, here's from Kenton County Homeland Security and Emergency Management. Here's what you should do before. Ensure you have a full gas tank. Ensure you are stocked on groceries. Have alternative communications for an eclipse that's going to last about an hour. And here's another one. Buy necessary groceries and gas. Expect heavy traffic and long lines for local services.
Oklahoma, the National Guard will have guardsmen present for the total solar eclipse on April 8th. Communication facilities could become overloaded, possibly making cell phone calls difficult. The 22 members of an elite chemical, biological, and radiological and nuclear unit will be housed in Broken Bow, in addition to up to 110 to 150 Oklahoma Highway Patrol troopers. There will be about 150 other first responders and volunteers, with many staying at either the sports complex in Broken Bow or in Idabel.
Not to scare the hell out of you, but that pretty much does it. And all this is just preparedness for the possibilities of what could happen during this event. Now, we've all had solar eclipses in the past, and we've been pretty good about it. Nothing's really bad has happened, but these are the just in case, right? So that's why we threw these out here today. Now, let's talk a little bit about the actual solar flare itself, the electromagnetic disruptions of what these solar flares can actually cause. And this is basically what's happening, right, Terry? I mean, it's kind of shooting the flare on once the Earth moves on the other side, or the moon moves away from the sun. We're going to get a shot, right? An extra shot, and that's pretty much what's happening.
Yeah. It's when we have a solar mass ejection. Lately, what's been going on is we got this extremely large. And I mean, larger than we've ever seen. It's a dark spot on the sun, and that's usually where the solar flares shoot off from.
Right.
And this in particular one has been aimed at the Earth. It's if you've see how much the solar flare is that you have here in the picture. Keep in mind that those rays of the sun and the flare of plasma and everything that's coming off that shoot out way farther than the Earth itself is from the sun. Wow. And it does it relatively quick.
Yeah, it does.
So what ends up happening is we end up with major disruptions into our all of our communication devices, our nav systems, things like that operate off of satellite. And satellites aren't in here with us in the protective layers.
Right.
It's like it's a really incredible thing when you're like on the moon or you're in the space station. They have protective stuff that helps shield you from when they're having a radioactive event.
Right.
And outside of all of our spheres, we have several different spheres that go out and they protect us. They're like the bands that come up from the top of the Earth and out from the bottom of the Earth, and they create it's actually described as Earth's flower. Right. is what they describe it as. And that's what protects us from all of the radiation that takes place when we have these solar mass ejections coming from the sun.
So let me read this real quick. What it says here it says solar storms can weaken the Earth's magnetic field. Solar flares are large eruptions of electromagnetic radiation from the sun that can cause radio blackouts. So that's what they're talking about, the blackouts, things like that. Now, if you look at the picture, Terry, on the right, I was just going to kind of bring that to your attention real quick. Now, look at the picture on the right. That's the United States, Florida, or up in the North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, around that area. Now, look at that is the actual fault line. If you're looking at the line that's coming straight down, right?
Right.
Okay, now look at the line. Now watch this. I'm going to take you back just a few. That line is pretty close to what the totality path is going to be, right? So, I mean, is it just a coincidence, or can there actually be something that might occur around that area, to where it might affect it in some sort? Because I heard that it demagnetizes like our rocks underneath the ground. It can, if it's strong enough, it can do that, right? And which will cause a shifting, right, of the Earth's crust a little bit, which will make a small earthquake, which we're already having now in those areas, right? So and I think that's why they're trying to say be prepared with your gas, your food, because if power lines go down, you're going to be loss of electricity, things like that, just in case there's a small quake in your area or something might happen. We don't know, but it's just a coincidence of the same path of this fault lines that we have there within that the ejection of the solar ejection that you were talking about that might affect that area as well, right? As soon as the moon passes that,
right,
as soon as it leaves, it might just shoot something, a flare in that general direction, right?
Well, yes, that's a possibility. When you have it's a total eclipse. Okay, you have this total coverage with the moon, and then you have what's called a ring of fire event.
Right.
That ring of fire event. Again, if you've got glasses like these, you can see this ring of fire event take place, and what you're seeing around that is called a corona. And when you're looking at that corona, you're going to see all of the different flares that are taking place at that time, at that moment. And as it's moving along, you can see how far out that that corona is reaching out, and that's usually what you're looking for. Now, if a mass solar flare ejection takes place and it happens to be aimed at the Earth, it could be very simple. Think about how large the sun is. We're just a speck on it.
Right.
If it were to throw a mass ejection straight at the Earth, it would literally, and I'm talking about a big one, it would singe off all of the oceans. It would, poof, they're gone. It would burn off all of our woods. It would burn everything that's living and breathing on the planet to death instantly.
Right.
So
and it affects our satellites up in space as well.
Oh, absolutely. It'll take those out first before it ever got to us. But it would only be a momentary thing, It would think about, first off, light speed is.
Right.
I had put a thing out on light speed and how it looked around different planets, what the speed of light looked like, and it takes hours for those light particles, the photons, to reach from the sun to us.
Right, and
it literally takes hours.
And it says here what I was talking about, the demagnetization of the Earth's crust. Hold on, is my sound is going out again. Hold on. So it says a positively charged protons from the sun crash into the Earth, protecting magnetic bubble. They create electromagnetic currents that propagate across the globe. Pulses created by these currents could then go on to deform quartz in the Earth's crust, untimely triggering quakes, right? So, and that's pretty much what I was talking about here earlier, that there's the possibility of that, right?
Well, the other part that comes to mind for me is if there just happens to be a mass solar ejection that takes place and it moves our moon, okay? Keep in mind, our moon is in what's called quantum lock with the Earth.
Right.
Okay, so the Earth is spinning, but the moon is staying in one place. We see it as the sun going up and the sun going down, the moon coming up and the moon going down.
Right.
That's not how it works. The Earth is spinning, and they're staying put.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's how it actually is working. And I'd also stated the same thing with crafts. That basically what they're doing is magnetic flux tubes. They get to a certain height and they release the magnetic flux tubes with the Earth, and the craft is actually staying put, but the Earth is doing the rotating, and it looks like the craft is moving.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. The same thing with this. Now, what happens is if we have something that pushes on the other side of the moon, it pushes it closer. Now that's going to cause a big unstabilizing pressure on the planet.
Right.
Think about high tide, low tide. Okay. When we have high tide, the moon is closer to the Earth. We're actually closer to the moon.
Right.
Is how that is. But the moon is closer to the Earth's closer to the moon, and we have a high tide. And then when the moon and the Earth are further away, we have the low tides. And what's happening is as this giant object gets closer to our planet, the pressures build up, and there's so many different types of reactions to the pressure. For instance, you have high tide, low tide, but you also have people acting differently.
Right.
As any police officer would tell you, it's a full moon tonight. We're expecting the worst from the citizens.
Exactly. Yep.
So that's what they're trying to say. And if it's a really close, large moon, the more instances they seem to have.
Right.
That's because we're affected by this. We as people are affected by it. Now, a really large solar mass ejection could act as it would be a way to knock out like all of the stuff that's on the planet, like a EMP, electromagnetic pulse wave.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Now that would literally, and that's the biggest tool the sun or soul, I call it, soul is the scientific name of it. Sol and Luna. Sol being the sun, Luna being the moon.
Yeah, that's where they get the word. That's where they get the word lunatic from. Lunatic.
That's right. Lunatic.
Yep, Luna. So, let's talk about this. We know that the sun attracts UFOs right by the sun, right? To where they almost they pull energy from it, I guess, to maybe charge their crafts. I don't know if that's what it is, or they're pulling off the radiation or whatever it is to pull off close to the sun, right? Does it attract UFOs? Yes, I believe it does.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I've seen what looked like a craft going into a portion of the sun and coming out the other side.
Yes, I see that one.
Extreme speed.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these things that we see when we have, and I know we've all seen this, is when there's a solar mass ejection. I love saying that for some reason tonight. A solar mass ejection, and there what looks like a planetary type thing that is in the way of it, kind of shielding the Earth.
Right.
In that sense, I almost want to say, like Nibiru. You know, that's kind of where I'd like to go with that.
Right.
Like there's a giant planet or a giant craft. Maybe it's a craft called Nibiru. Okay, but whatever it is, it's extremely large, and it's way bigger than the Earth, and it seems to stop a lot of the solar mass ejection that's heading towards our planet.
Right.
And we've got lots of footage of it. We seem to have lots of footage of it. There was a point there when we were having mass solar ejections, and the U.S. government, I can't speak for the other governments on this one, but I remember the U.S. government shut down all the large telescopes that could look at the sun.
Yeah, I remember that.
They stopped it to where people couldn't just go in and observe, and they basically shut our country down from being able to look at the sun on that. I think it was like about a week.
Yeah, it was a week.
Yeah.
Well, it was the observatory that actually, the telescope that actually looks at the sun, that one, they shut it down because they didn't want people to see what was happening behind the scenes. Now, I got a video here. I believe it's out of Mexico. It's a UFO. And this is recent. Let's just go ahead and start talking about some UFOs now.
Sounds good to me.
Let's check this out. This is like literally, man, this is a really good one. So it's this UFO that's at night, but you can actually see the craft. Look at the blinking patterns too. They're going to be off, on, off, kind of different, but it almost mimics an aircraft. But you could see the saucer shape on this craft as it's floating in the air. So here we go. Let's check this out real quick. You see that?
Oh, yeah.
Sobrevenido los cielos de México. That's what it says.
Oh, that's beautiful. Very clear.
Look at that. And look how
that's very clear what that is.
Look how close to the floor, to the ground it is. Maybe 200 feet.
I sure find it amazing that the U.S. government gives it to us, then takes it away, and then gives it back to us, and then takes it away. Meanwhile, down in Mexico and Peru and all those countries, they're making sure that we see this.
I know, right? They get all the good stuff, man. I mean, look at this thing. I'm slowing it down and moving it back and forth. But for people in audio world that are listening and driving, it's a zoomed in of a UFO disc-shaped craft, and it's actually flashing in dead center of it, and you could tell it's in a spin mode of some sort. But it's hovering.
Yes, it is.
Maybe about 200. Look at that. There's the house. There's the craft. It's probably maybe 150 feet, 200 above the house.
Yeah, probably about 200-300 feet above it.
Wow.
Yeah, this is really incredible footage here.
Yeah, it is. And I think, like what we were talking about earlier, the UFO crafts, I think during or before this solar event, we're going to be seeing a lot more of these crafts coming through, which maybe more visible to us, to the naked eye, during that time. Maybe just for that short period. They say it's going to last, what, six minutes, something like that? The totality. So maybe we might be able to catch some kind of craft in midair without it being, kind of cloaked in some kind of way.
All right. Oh, that right there. That was really good footage of that. I really hope that more people that catch footage like that make sure to get it to ASTP.
Yes.
Which is a direct link to Alien Strand Podcast. ASTP is a group of ufologists from around the world. We have members in every country, and those members are what we would consider a qualified ufologist, citizen ufologist.
Right.
They go through an interview process with us. So if somebody from ASDP is, and you contact them, they show up in your location. We've not only have we kind of checked their background out, but we've also made sure that they know what they're talking about. That we all have an agreement of what we're looking at. When we see footage like this right here, we usually put it into a scrutiny test with several different members of ASDP. And if we can pick it apart and find flaws, we do.
Somebody's got a question out there. Somebody's got a question out there.
Sure, certainly.
Facebook user says, do you think the UFOs are signaling with their lights, that blinking, because it's an off-grid pattern. It's not like nav lights, like you see like 121, 121 or anything like that. Usually helicopters will have one white light in the back. So this is totally different, but that's a great question. I mean, do you think the UFOs are signaling somehow with their lights?
I do believe that. I do believe that they're trying to communicate with us somehow, some way. Like for instance, us with Oregon Ufology Research, we bring out two different types of lasers, a blue one and a green one. They're extremely high powered. I mean, from about a quarter mile away, I could light a fire with these things.
Yeah.
They're extremely powerful lasers. From 65 miles away, we are able to, and have found that from 65 miles away, we can actually reach out that far with these things, and they react to us. The reason I say 65 miles away is because we were in the process of investigating the crafts that would be doing the cattle mutilations over in the Crook County area of Oregon. Again, we're going to be talking more about that and the fourth movie.
Right.
However, we were able to contact with these things, and we moved it from 65 miles away right over to hole in the ground, right where we were at, and the craft disappeared above us.
Right.
But just before it disappeared, it started coming to us almost like a fire in the sky kind of thing, the orange sphere. And then once it got beside us, it started putting all these different lights out, very similar to that. And then, poof, it disappeared.
Wow.
And a few moments later, it was on the other side of hole in the ground, which is a mile across, which is where we were. And it lit our camp up like daylight.
Well, that's
okay. So
there's
that's when I got pictures of it.
Yeah, that was a good one. I think we put it on one of our films.
We did.
Okay, so he was talking about, I think that was Ani Ball that's on there right now. I think that's him. It pretty much sounds like him, so I know it's probably him. So he's probably saying, that do you think they were signaling? He thinks it's 100. He feels 100% it's a signal. So I got this other video, and I believe it's from Mexico too. Now look, this is during a lightning storm, and you could see this craft kind of turning off and turning on. Turning off, but the lights kind of go this way, right? And it's a disc. You could tell, but here we go. Let's check this out real quick. So this is in Pennsylvania, March 15th, 2024. Look at that.
Oh, wow. Lightning storm on top of it.
Yep, look at that.
That's really cool.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah. See, that's they just disappear and they reappear.
Yep. Look at
disappear and reappear.
You see, it's like he was just saying, like if it's some kind of a signal,
I would also like to add that Annabelle Quiones, he was my teacher in ufology, but he's several other people's teacher in ufology.
Right.
If you ever have the opportunity to be in contact with Annabelle Quiones, I recommend it, especially if you need questions answered.
Right. He's saying it looks like Morse code, almost in a sense. Like
it does.
But see, look how the lights go down and they go up. Look at that.
Yep.
Almost on and off in that certain section. They appear, then they disappear. And I believe it's going to get broken down a little bit closer as well as it's playing. So for people in audio world, this is a night sky. You got about 4 lights that are purple in color almost, and there's a lightning storm at the same time. When it's flashing, it's actually pulsating and turning off one by one 2 of the lights on the left side, and it's pretty much kind of telling you I'm right here or I'm watching you, and that's what I'm pretty much getting from it. I believe we had one of our ufologists as well. She's been using a laser lately, but she said that she kind of backed off from the lasers because it's kind of scary in a sense to how it's attracting these UFO crafts, as it's happening. And it's, they just, it kind of freaks them out a little bit because it gets a little too close for comfort sometimes. You know what I mean? When you use the lasers.
Sure does. Well, that's because they're going to investigate it.
Right.
They come to see what that's about.
Right. Exactly.
And it's a laser. A laser's a good thing if you're looking for CE4.
Right.
If you're wanting to have a CE4 event, lasers are really good. Never, and I mean never, point any laser at a craft. Put it in front of it, put it behind it, put it above it, put it below it.
Right.
But never point it straight at the craft, because if you are incorrect about it, then that turns into a spotlight and it's the sheriff's department.
That's right.
Or the you don't want to. If there's a big fine, there's jail time involved if you point it at the craft.
Aircraft.
And it turns out to be.
You mean an aircraft?
Yeah, if it turns out to be an airliner or something like that.
Right.
I don't want to promote people shining it directly at the craft.
Exactly.
That's never a good idea. What you're doing is you're trying to signal them with a laser, and you're trying to show them that you're there, but you don't ever, like I said, because some of these lasers will blind a pilot, and you're putting everybody on that craft at risk,
exactly,
including anybody that might get hit by the craft on the ground if they crash.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of blinding, or I mean, everything on an aircraft, on any Boeing or anything like that. I mean, it's all computerized, or it's got sensors all over. You might end up throwing one of those sensors off, thinking it's being hit by something, that's flying to it, and it might do an automatic deflect. You know what I mean? To where it's the airplane will move in a different direction, right? Causing some stress on the actual aircraft, especially at a low altitude, right? Because it's already stressing enough because it's at a low altitude. The air isn't as dense, so it's all the weight is on that craft, at the aircraft as it's flying. What he's talking about, and just kind of, like he said, don't point it at any craft, even if it's a UFO. I don't recommend pointing it at the UFO.
You don't want to point it at the UFO.
Right. So it'll be around it, to the left, to the right of it, if it's a UFO out there, and just kind of be use your best judgment, in other words.
Right. I want people to be safe for themselves and be safe for whoever or whomever's up there. Keep this in mind. I mean, maybe you point it at a actual UFO and you put it on the UFO, and it takes it as a threat, and it happens to have something that's just going to launch back at you.
Right.
Okay. So it's that simple. You could either harm a person, you could harm several people, or you could be creating a situation that you just can't get out of, one way or the other, because it may have perceived you as a threat.
Exactly.
And if it perceives you as a threat and it happens to have something more superior than what you're pointing at it, you could be in a lot of trouble. Sometimes you hear about how people and things just disappear.
Exactly.
Okay. So this is where you're trying to be a diplomat. You're not trying to be a aggressive opponent. You're wanting to be a diplomat. So think of it that way.
Exactly.
That you're trying to be diplomatic, because if you're at the point where you're seeing craft and you're shining lasers up there, then you better damn well be as prepared as I am, or anybody from ASDP, that you may be making contact at any moment now, and you might even be looking this thing face to face.
A Facebook user says, "We heard you, Terry. Don't piss off the aliens, LOL." So, yeah, pretty much, that's pretty much what you don't want to do,
Right, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, because you don't know. You don't know what you're facing. You don't know what kind of species it is. If it is an alien, you don't know what it is. It could be something that's territorial. It could be something that's, hey, we're hungry today.
Very much.
You don't know. So just kind of look at them
at the end of that laser. Is that where the rotisserie's at?
Exactly. I got my spices with me. So Sniper says to try to acknowledge that you are here unarmed and come in peace for the good of the universe. It's a possibility. They also say that this was what they said before. I have seen crafts shoot the same type of light right back at someone. I've seen that video too.
I've seen it as well.
Like they say, we're here. I see you. You see me. We're kind of communicating here.
Right.
And this whole podcast today was about the eclipse that's coming and the attractant that it might have towards UFOs and the world of ufology, because during that day or after that day, ufology might change, right? It might change. So it might be better or it might get worse. We don't know, right?
My suggestion is during the eclipse, just like I said on the last two eclipses, but this last eclipse specifically, I said, if you got a Nikon or you got a Canon or you got a Sony, I'm not going to go through the whole list, but all the different cameras that people have, and you have the capability to take pictures, or you have the capability of shooting video during the process of this.
Right.
My suggestion is shoot video of the skyline while this is taking place. Observe your video after you're done. If you have something that you've seen and you're listening to my voice and you've seen something, bring it to us. Bring it to Alien Strand Podcast. Bring it to ASDP. We want to see what you got.
Speaking of, Terry, I forgot to say this. I'm going to tell everybody here. So our friend from the UK, United Kingdom, Dave Munday, right?
Right.
Mr. Monday, he sent me a couple of voicemails this morning. I guess he was out all night shooting footage, because he's always this guy's vigilantly out there. With boots
hardcore.
He's hardcore ufologist, man. And this guy goes out there at night, shoots all night long to early in the mornings. He takes walks around the mountain areas. And so he starts telling me that on his Nikon P1000, he just shot some amazing footage that he's going to want to share. So soon we'll be seeing him. There's 4 orbs that were flying over this area where he was at. So he was kind of explaining it to me, what he had caught, but he'll end up showing us the footage here pretty soon. So kind of be prepared of what he's going to be showing us before our eyes, and just he's a great guy, man, and I love him to death out there, and he's doing a great job, for ufology and for the UFO world out there. Do you got anything else to add before we close there, Terry?
Yeah, for some information on Dave Munday, he has a P900 and he has a P1000. He lives on the Isle of Wight. It's a small island just off of the southern end of England, which is in the English Channel. Directly across from them would be Spain and France. So from where he's at. I mean, I think it's like Normandy and all that stuff is across from him.
Right.
So he has a really unique location that he's at. Now, I do have a couple of things I'd like to add. First off, I've been real busy working on getting my CDL commercial driver's license.
Right.
I'm still not exactly sure what the rules are about me talking about the place that I work, but I would like to put a big thank you for everybody who's been taking the time to train me and teach me how to operate these large vehicles.
Nice.
And how air brakes work and how to go around corners and how to inspect a vehicle from top to bottom. You guys really rock. Thank you for taking your time with me. I'm kind of a hard person to teach sometimes because sometimes, I think I know everything.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, and then I would also like to tell everybody out there, I'm gonna forego the Nikon thing that I usually do because I think Nikon's the best cameras in the world, but I'm gonna forego that. So don't listen to that part. Now, whatever you do, don't listen to that part.
Right.
Okay. So now I want to say one more thing. Disclosure starts with your story and respect. We're ASDP Ufology, and we're ASDP ufologists. We're all around the world, and if you have something to tell us, we're going to respect what you have to say. We want to learn everything that you know about what you've seen, and if you don't have the answers, but you do have some photos or videos of it, maybe we can help explain it to you what you're seeing, and we can show you with other things that are very similar to what you've seen.
Right.
So please remember, don't be afraid to come talk to us. It might not be as easy to go talk to your neighbor about it, but it's going to be a lot easier to come talk to somebody who's experienced things that you've experienced. And ASDP is full of people around the world again to talk to. Every state in the union, as well as just about every country in the world. So ASDP is waiting to hear from you.
Exactly. All right, brother. Well, we had a couple of comments. Marita says, I got my SY Onyx camera with backup batteries ready to go. This is from Silent Listen. It's out there. Thank you for watching on our YouTube channel. I appreciate you. Snackbay says they don't know I have experience that I can meditate, send beacon consciously after so many years. The laser isn't worth it for me. I don't want to attract the wrong ones. Also, this is lots of UFOs in London because it has 25% nuclear is used. UFOs love nuclear. I believe that's Shannon. It has to be Shannon. And it says, God bless our truckers out there. It's Terry, you're part of that group. Hey, man, thank you for being on the show tonight. I really appreciate you. Everybody watching tonight, Donna, my sister, everybody was watching, just chiming in. Ani Ball, thank you, brother. I appreciate you. And thank you, Terry, for just chiming in tonight. We'll see you on the next one.
Hey, I'm looking forward to the next meeting with everybody out there on Alien Strand Podcast.
Right on, brother. All right, we'll talk to you shortly.
Okay.
All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. Solar change. We scared the hell out of you a little bit. Didn't mean to do that, but it's just a precautionary measure, right? So we just want you guys to be prepared. Fill up your gas tanks a couple of days before. Let's go ahead and do that, and just grab your groceries. Through the week. You have about a couple of weeks, so stock up your trailers and propane and all that good stuff. Propane, Bobby. Stock up all your propane and get it ready, just in case. And it's all it is just in case, all right? So, I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast as much as I enjoyed telling you guys about the change. Me and Terry, we just love all you guys out there. Don't forget, Alien Strand Disclosure Project. There's no I in team. We all work together as one, as it should be, right? I don't hear no cowbell. You know why? Because there's a lot of cowbells in ASDP. There's a bunch of us, man. So there's not just one. There's a lot of us here, but we're not nothing like cowbell, all right? So shh, don't say that. Anyway, you guys have yourselves a good day. Have yourselves a good evening. And have yourselves a good night.
I believe it was 5 separate craft. That's some straight UFO shit right there.
That's when I started seeing all of the lights and the contact that I've been witnessing.
I just kept filming and looking up at the sky, and it just started happening more frequently.
What is that? What is that?